Welcome to the Hollywood Outsider, an award-winning weekly entertainment podcast. And in this episode, we're going to debate what would be the best monster mashups across TV and film, meaning any villain or foe crossing any universe to either match up or team up. Also, some movie or TV news, some upcoming releases. We're bringing that back, and we'll see how it goes. A review of Godzilla, Kong, The New Empire, and The Matrix turns 25. Let's get on with the show. My name is Aaron Peterson. Joining me today are my fellow host, John Davenport.
Hey, buddy.
Troy Heinritz.
I'm exhausted just from that opening.
Yeah, energy. Get used to it.
So much stuff to talk about.
Oh, my God. The two of you are going to really pull me in every single direction tonight, aren't you?
Do you know Troy, before we started, said that people who use VOD are stupid? I'm just saying that's what I heard. Did you hear that? That's what I heard.
Just wait 4 weeks, it'll be on streaming.
You know what I don't understand is people inside their homes who wear their hoodies, like with the hood up. I don't get that.
Unless you're a rapper. Can you rhyme?
That's right.
I don't even know the purpose of a freaking hoodie, much less wearing the hood up on the inside of your home.
Well, in Florida, it means to rob.
That's true. Or in Marvel, it's like the universal Marvel, like nobody can tell who I am disguise.
God, it's really sad that your world consists of going to Marvel, not real world. I was talking about Florida and you went to Marvel. You just jumped over to Marvel.
I prefer Road Rules personally, but
I don't want to think about how terrible this state is.
You live there. Shut up.
You moved back there.
Back to what I was talking about. Troy insulted people that like video on demand. That's all I'm saying. Do a shot every time John says right. You'll be dead before, you get the halfway mark.
I don't care, but that's still Aaron's job to like insult people. I don't know what you were thinking, Troy.
Sorry. I just got a little frisky this week. I needed to, I didn't know where Aaron was going to go. He had so much shit to talk about. I didn't know if he was going to bring all of the insulting.
Well, you guys wanted upcoming releases brought back.
Okay.
And they tried to bring it. They tried to get me to bring. Hey! You tried to get me to resurrect a dead man's bumper, too. Shame on you.
We could have used a different man's bumper.
No, you're like bring back Justin's upcoming attractions.
I never said that.
Troy did.
Yeah,
because it's a good bumper. It's a good bumper.
It's like Brian's Trailer Park is a better bumper.
Retired them both in their honors.
They're both great bumpers.
Hey, you know what, Brian? Retiring anything in Brian's honor just assumes that we're getting ready for something to happen to him.
No, he was happy.
He doesn't travel to Rockford anytime soon.
He was good with it. Hey, if you're listening to this on Google Podcasts, I don't know how because it's dead. It's literally over. In case you didn't know, if you're trying to figure out why you couldn't access this on Google Podcasts, it's because Google decided to make things more complicated and move all their stuff to YouTube Music. So if you're looking for us on an Android app, YouTube Music apparently is where we're at now.
Right, which is called YouTube Music, not YouTube Podcasts, which means it's just going to be harder for podcasters. And this is the same problem we've had with the Android operating system from day one.
Spotify does the same thing. Do you click on podcast?
Apple do the same thing too?
No, they have their own app.
The problem is podcasting will not grow significantly again until there is a native app in the Android system. And right now there is no native app.
YouTube Music is
podcasts.
native. You're wrong. YouTube Music is native.
But it doesn't say podcast. It says music.
It said Google Podcasts, and apparently it wasn't native enough. I don't know what more you need, man.
And that was the problem. That's why it wasn't successful, because they didn't make it a native app. They made it an optional app.
Again, it had 500 million downloads as of last year. It wasn't non-successful. It's just Google likes to mess things up.
Well, it's Alphabet that likes to mess things up.
You're just so sold on the Apple lifestyle that you're willing to trash anything Google related. But you got the information.
I like the Google products. The problem that I have with Google is that I can't trust them for more than 3 years. It's like a Netflix problem at Google.
I'm you all for your help right now. I need help to save me from these two people. Whatever you guys can do to make this better, I would appreciate it. I'm talking to you listeners because these two are going to keep this up the entire night.
Hey, Arjon.
Yeah, what's up, buddy?
Blink twice if you need help.
I'm blinking all the time.
Well, it's a good thing this isn't a video podcast then, because Google would shut that down too.
Right.
Probably would. Hey, remember, you can always find more information at thehollywoodoutsider.com, where I have a Facebook group. It's very private, so you got to find The Hollywood Outsider on Facebook. and we're on X at Buy Popcorn. You can send us your thoughts on this episode, or if you even want upcoming attractions, to feedback@thehollywoodoutsiders.com. That's feedback@thehollywoodoutsiders.com. I do want to mention we're big fans of Alex Garland's, and he helmed Ex Machina and Civil War is coming out. And he said he's done directing, and he wants to focus on screenwriting. That's just sad. I like his films.
I mean,
See,
I don't know which way to go with this, because like at the same time, his films are also his writing too. So if he's going to focus more on writing and tell good stories, the stories are still
true,
the key behind the directing that comes later. So as long as he's not out of the business completely, because he didn't say he was retiring completely, he just said he was retiring from directing. So I think I'm okay with this as long as he still tells some really great stories, because all of his movies that I've seen have been really great. Yeah, and I'm super excited for Civil War next week.
You're not?
No, I'm not. Only because I don't want to go see the future on the screen.
Do you mean the present?
Yeah, the past.
This will be the future. Anyhow, yes, I do find that everything he's done has been fantastic. Whether he's written it, directed it, whatever, I don't care. I really enjoy what he does. I like the fact that he's just going to focus on writing, whatever his reasoning behind it. I guess either A, he loves that more, or B, maybe the act of being a director is just too taxing on him, and he doesn't like giving up his children, so to speak, as much as he has to when he has to make his choices.
He said he didn't want to deal with the machine of the day to day.
Yeah.
He wanted to get more into the creative style again, because directing was basically sucking his soul.
Yeah. I get it.
I get that. I mean, I appreciate it for what it is.
Yeah. I guess we can mention that Kevin Smith is getting back to basics. He's making another movie, the 4:30 movie. We always have to mention it, but I haven't been excited about a Kevin Smith movie in a long time. But this is set in the summer of 1986. Well, that's the sweet spot for nostalgia these days. Coming-of-age comedy follows three 16-year-old friends who spend their Saturdays sneaking into movies at the local multiplex. But when one of the guys also invites the girl of his dreams to see the latest comedy, each of the teens will learn something serious about life and love before the credits roll. I'll bet you they learn a lot about weed.
No, he stopped that.
He still talks about it a lot. And some oral sex.
I mean, it is a theater. That's very possible.
As I understand it, he's given up the weed as of like 6 or 7 months ago. Because it's damaged his bit. I haven't listened to any of his podcasts because they haven't really dropped anything recently to figure out if he's continued to talk about the weed. But to call Aaron out on being like, I haven't been excited about anything he's done, I do believe Aaron has said that Clerks 3 made him cry. It was so emotional for him.
Yeah, I wasn't excited for it though. I got lucky.
You got lucky.
Worked. Yeah.
Right.
Dude, I have not been excited. Kevin Smith has been a not great writer for a long time. Clerks 3 was a luck. It was a crapshoot, and it banked solely on nostalgia and also knowing his own personal condition. So it's all tied into that. As a movie, it was just okay. That was all coming together. It was all a culmination of things.
Right.
There you go. Do another shot. I'm gonna get you out of this.
No, I'm gonna keep on saying right.
I would love to show you how many I added out of this podcast on a typical basis.
Just say left from now on.
Left. Okay, so left. I've always loved and appreciated Kevin Smith for everything he's done. I do admit that there's been plenty of times where I have been just okay, or even like I could have done better without watching that movie. But I love him as a person, and for the things that he does stand up for when he is delivering the messages he wants to deliver. So I'll always root for him to succeed for those reasons. Whether or not it turns out to be something great is a different story. I'm hoping that this post him having his mental breakdown movie ends up being something that's better than he has produced in a while.
So hopeful. Good for you. I'm expecting pretty much, as long as he doesn't try to make any weirdness, maybe this will be better. I'm hoping. I want Kevin Smith of old, man. That's what I want. I want Kevin Smith of old. It's not too much to ask for, at least in terms of how sharp the writing was. Leigh Whannell, love Leigh Whannell. He did Invisible Man, And he did Upgrade, and he was one of the writers of Saw. He was one of the stars of Saw. But he's making The Wolfman for Blumhouse, and it's going to star Christopher Abbott and Julia Garner about yet another Wolfman, bringing that Universal monster back. They delayed the release by 3 months. It's going to open in January 17th of 2025 instead of October of this year. People are kind of freaking out like this means something negative, and it's not. It was just delayed in terms of filming. I don't think it's a death spot anymore. I mean, Megan did like almost $100 million in that same time period. So did The Invisible Man. So this is a good window for Blumhouse.
Yeah, and it's also still delay from the strikes and everything. Schedules are still trying to get worked out and things of that nature. So I would not read into anything when the schedule shifts for at least another year.
Just excited to see it.
You do have your occasional wins in January. It's still an iffy month for movies, but there are great things that come out in January. So, and with Lee Wanell, I love him for not Sinister. What's the other series? Insidious. I love him for the Insidious series and what he's done there. So I'm always on his side.
Not a fan of that series, but I know a lot of people are. So, all right, one more thing before we move on to a review and then get to our topic of the week. But Ghostbusters Frozen Empire is going to struggle to even hit $100 million. You know, all the flack that me have gotten for saying that it was a 5 out of 10. Didn't even trash it, but man, on the internet, it's like you poured acid on Dan Aykroyd's alive body. You would think that that's the way they were taking it.
That I'm sorry, Aaron, that I did not stand in solidarity with you because I also gave it to a 5, but I gave it to Aaron directly.
I gave it a 4.5. So, and nobody came after me. So.
I don't know what it is. Well, you didn't put anything on the Hollywood Outsider Facebook page. I did.
That's true.
So people were just mad because I loved it and great. Which, if you did, that's great. I have no problem. If you liked it more than I did, I always want people to have a great time at the theater. That's my number one dream of the world. But it's struggling to hit $100 million. And that makes it 5 movies in that series, right? With only one monster success, and that was the first film. And the other 4, I think it's worth pointing out, the biggest hit of the other 4 was the ladies one that people love to trash on. I find that hilarious in many ways. But it just goes to show, I don't think this is a franchise. I don't think it's sustainable as a franchise. Maybe, if you keep lowering the budget and everything else and make them very mid-budget, but then they're not really blockbuster material. They're just very small indie films. And I think Afterlife recouped its budget, but the budget was very low, and it was also hyped up on nostalgia. I mean, it's like the Terminator, right? It's the same situation. They keep making these movies hoping that it's going to bust out and become this major franchise, and it just doesn't happen. I can make the case for Jurassic World. I can make the case for Fast and Furious. Like all these other franchises that keep churning them out that people wish would die, I can make a case for them. I can't make a case for Ghostbusters and Terminator and stuff like that. Can we accept that sometimes franchises don't happen?
Well, the franchise did happen. The franchise just happened as a cartoon, which was the perfect format for Ghostbusters.
Okay, but we're talking about movies. Okay, so in movies, can we accept this is not a franchise? This is not a sustainable mega franchise like everybody at Sony seems to want it to be.
I think it's well beyond its time to become the mega franchise that it could have been. That's where I am with it. They never should have. They never should have brought the story around the way they did. They're leaning too much on a generation that isn't as interested in this type of storytelling, and they're pretty much ignoring the generation that kept this going for as long as it has been going. So that's where
this is all nonsense, man. Like Ghostbusters 2 came out, it's a freaking carbon copy of the movie, and it flopped. And that came right after the first one. You've had 3 more shots at it. None of them have been a major hit. This is not a franchise. This is like Terminator after Terminator 3 or after Terminator 2. It just became we want to will it into existence, but it isn't one.
I'd still see a Ghostbusters movie no matter what it is, just because it's Ghostbusters, but that's because we grew up in the 80s. Right?
Yeah, no,
the problem that Sony has in front of them is trying to get a 10-year-old or 12-year-old or 14-year-old to come see Ghostbusters. And right now, they're not doing anything in these movies to connect with that teenage audience that we all were back in the 80s. And therefore, because of that, there is no sustainability with the franchise, because once you piss off a 10-year-old, it's going to go on X the next day. Ghostbusters sucks, and your whole franchise is dead. And I think that's really the big thing, is that they're relying too much on bringing us, the old fogies, back to the theater to see their heroes, and the heroes aren't even that good in the movie.
No, that's our fault. That's fans. Our fault. Those are fans' fault.
Well, yeah, but
female one came out. No. When the female one came out, everybody had to jump on the hate train and start trashing them left and right, and basically becoming the most horrible people on the planet. And then they had no other course of action but to go to nostalgia, because everybody scared the shit out of them if they made a Ghostbusters movie without Dan Aykroyd and his big ass in a freaking Ghostbusters costume. And I love Dan Aykroyd. Don't take that as an insult. I love Dan Aykroyd. But they have very much tried everything they could to make this work, and it just doesn't. It's just like Terminator. Just let it fucking die. Hit it with a proton pack. Marshmallow that shit and end this. I'm done trying to get excited about a franchise that will never really happen.
But that was the thing. They missed the window, because the window to hand it off was Afterlife, where they could have handed it off and then just not had the nostalgia in this movie, and it probably would have been great.
I disagree. I didn't like Afterlife that much either.
Yeah. Afterlife was just okay.
I didn't say you had to like it. I said they did the right job of doing the handoff. Like, here's a little bit of old, here's a little bit of new. This had to be all new for the franchise to continue. And because it wasn't all new, you can't hand it off a second time to all new.
I mean, I don't disagree with that part, actually.
So my point was I was trying to make is that, you mentioned Fast and the Furious. Fast and the Furious didn't become the major hit until about the fourth movie. And that was only, they dug that up out of the grave, because the third one isn't very well loved. The second one is just okay. And the first one is what the one everyone remembers. So if you take that,
first two are hits, though.
The first two might have been hits, but the third one, not so much. So they could have just left it alone until they turned it into what it is now. So that being
said, 5 was a great movie,
right? So that being said, when they were developing Ghostbusters back in the 80s and 90s, where it had the story of the cartoon. If they would have at least held to the story of the cartoon a little tighter as the second movie came out, and even then done a third movie and fourth movie way back then, we could have had the kind of property that they're trying to build, but that would have been needed to be done in the 90s, right? Where you can still use the same cast, but then tie into more of like the same kind of stories that are happening in the cartoon, because the cartoon had some very intense moments and some storylines that were pretty fun. But when you abandon all of that, you have a whole generation and a half, let's say, because you have a whole bunch of kids who were born in the 70s, 80s, and the late 80s who were big fans of that cartoon. That could have been your treat into having a more of a franchise they're trying to build here. But leaving it the way that it died on the vine, essentially, is the final point I'm trying to get to, is that because it's too late, they developed something that was too built on nostalgia versus letting nostalgia fuel it, but finding a different way to drive it. Ultimately, but it's time to let it go.
I think it's that. I don't think the comparison's fair to Fast and Furious. The first two were hits. The third one was a flop, but as soon as they had Dom at the end, people got excited again, and 4 was a massive hit, and so on and so forth. So I only had one movie that really wasn't a hit. These haven't met expectations yet. Afterlife, only because of the pandemic. If that would have opened during regular days, Afterlife would not have been seen as a massive hit. It just wouldn't have, because it's going to make less than the 2016 version. Just had a better, that one had a bigger budget, but also had more talent in it.
I think it's also a telling sign from Hollywood that maybe IP is no longer the way to go, since Indiana Jones also decided to not show up and make its money back. It's like $150 million loss.
$134 million loss, yeah. But on the same token, the budget was...
I was trying to bump it up a little bit to make the story sound cool, all right?
I don't...
130, 140, 150. Who the fuck cares? It's a lot of money.
It is a lot of money. It did make $400 million worldwide, but man, the budget was like almost $400 million. And that's on them. That was a $150 million movie the whole time. Why they got it to where it was that's on Disney.
The de-aging process costs a lot.
I'm sure it did, but I think they didn't take into account the Crystal Skull ill will. They didn't take into account that, it's a new generation. I mean, the movie's very good. People that have seen the movie really love the movie.
It's really good.
It's
really good. Yeah.
So it's not a movie problem. People love, see, that movie was just trash. I'm like, did you see it? No, the trailer looked okay. Well, then why are you talking to me? Shut up. You didn't see it. Go see it. If you have an opinion, you didn't like it, fine. But if you're going to tell me it sucked and you didn't see it, I have no interest in anything you have to say. Don't care how much money it lost either, because it ended way better than Crystal Skull ended it.
That's true.
Oh, yeah.
And they killed Shia.
Spoiler alert?
It's been, a year? Who gives a shit?
Fair. Okay. Hey, you know what? Our show is independently funded, and therefore all the expenses are from our own pockets. And we're getting to the point, maybe we can do our own Ghostbusters movie on Remake This Movie Right It someday. I think we already did. But Patreon helps fans support their favorite podcasts. And once you sign up, you get immediate access to all your content in the respective tier, as well as you get early access to our Inspired by a True Story podcast that Troy refuses to listen to. Now you can understand what it is, and you can support the show at patreon.com/The Hollywood Outsider. That's patreon.com/The Hollywood Outsider.
Don't like death and angry things.
I gotcha.
It's why I don't do horror movies.
Town That Dreaded Sundown, though, like shot out like a bat out of hell.
I did listen to the episode that had Scream in it, though, because I was familiar with that case.
Did you like that one?
I did.
But you want to go see Civil War.
Yes, because Civil War is reality.
The reviews look great. You gotta check your politics at the door, man. Like, stuff happens. Life's gonna move on. Country's gonna be fine either way.
That's not what The Handmaid's Tale said.
Well, there's that. All right. Well, reviews. We're gonna talk about one movie this particular week, and that's Godzilla Kong: The New Empire. That's right. The X is silent. Have you never seen anime? Come on. It's not Godzilla X Kong. I wish people would stop saying that.
Yeah.
It's like Hunter x Hunter. You ever seen Hunter x Hunter? Same idea. Okay. Well, this time, this pits the mighty Kong and the fearsome Godzilla against a colossal, deadly threat hidden within our world that threatens the existence of their species and our very own, as well as diving deep into the mysteries of Skull Island and beyond. Delving straight into the origins of Hollow Earth, which apparently is just hanging out there. It's just a big, it's weird that exists, but whatever. It's like a multiverse inside the Earth. It's weird. And we explore the ancient Titan battle that brought man and monster together forever. But again, it's pretty heavy on the Kong, lesser on the Rar. Do you agree with that, John? That it's a lot less on Godzilla than it is Kong?
Yeah, but I'm okay with that.
Well, you should be. You just got Godzilla -1.
Right. I mean, there's also that, but Godzilla -1 was very light on Godzilla and more on story, so it's okay.
Light on story or more on story? Okay,
more on story. Right.
Okay, I heard it wrong in my head. I was about ready to fight. Thank God.
You are not going to defend a Godzilla movie from me. That will never happen.
All right. Well, Godzilla -1, speaking of, was a straight up monster movie, right? With real characters, real heart, real emotion. This is a PlayStation 5 game with NPCs. Do the human characters, including the returning Rebecca Hall, Brian Tyree Henry, Kaylee Hoddles Gia, along with one of my favorite actors, Dan Stevens Trapper, do they have enough emotions to make you care at all about them?
That's a interesting question because
the answer is no.
Well, I mean, to you, the answer is no, and to me, the answer is that they're doing their job. They're taking us along to help tell this story, right? Whether or not there's emotion for them involved, I don't think it's as important because the person the creature that's holding the heaviest amount of motion through this is actually Kong. He's doing a lot of the heavy lifting when it comes to emoting feelings and emoting his intent, and he's doing a great job at it. So congratulations to the development team on that. I like this group of humans for the first time when it comes to one of these monster movies. This is the group of humans that I like the most because Dan Stevens is having a blast as Trapper, right?
He is. He's a longtime friend of Adam Wingard. They did The Guest together, so I'm a big fan of his.
Yeah. I like Gia as far as like the little human that gets us through the story as well. Gia is a great little portion of that story. And Okay, so Brian Tyree, he's kind of like C-3PO and R2-D2 in the same body. Rebecca Hall, she's the one who gets to, she's the exposition queen in this. So that's kind of like their job. They're there to tell us a little bit of a story, give us a little bit of relief, get us from one point to another, because without them, there is no story. It's just like Kong emoting, Godzilla showing up and kicking ass, and everyone going home and having beers.
Yeah. I get that, but there's no bigger selling point than they're there to do a job.
Who's supposed to be doing the selling? Who's supposed to be doing the selling point here? The selling point
it's not
is
a selling point. That's it's a factual point of the story. Look, take it for what it is, a big monster mash 'em up. Yes. The people are pointless except for Gia, and I don't know why I keep thinking Gia, but whatever. But Gia, except for her, I really, really love her backstory and. Just she was originally from Skull Island and everything. I like that whole connection. Mm-hmm. And I do like the aspect that the animators have found a way to really have a non-verbal communication style, because Kong and Godzilla and the other monsters that are in here, really, they can't speak. They just have to either emote or they go by their actions. And I understood their motives clearly. Mm-hmm. I don't know if I need the people. Didn't care I couldn't tell you the whole story because of all the exposition, and I just started tuning it out after a while because it just feels like, she's just reading cue cards at this point, Rebecca Hall. So
but
I don't know if that was necessary, if they really got the job done. Except Dan Stevens was fun every now and again. Brian Tyree Henry was not good. I liked him so much better the last time. Yeah,
I liked him better the last time too. This time he was a little bit too heavy this time.
Very forced.
Yeah, he was too heavy this time. Gia was a great moment, and she's. It's hard to give away like her whole key to this story as far as what she ends up doing, but which I love. I love that how they incorporated that. It made me so happy to see that for sure as a longtime Godzilla fan. But ultimately, when you're trying to sit there and gauge all the Godzilla movies and say, name me one character from every single Godzilla movie there ever has been that was important, there's only two movies where you can do that, which is the very first Godzilla from eons ago, where you have Raymond Burr, and then Godzilla -1, because both of those are telling different style stories than every other Godzilla movie since.
But because it's so close, it hurts this movie, because that's all I kept. And I'm sure I'm not alone. I know I'm not alone. I think a lot of people had a lot of fun with this movie. But when you're thinking of the people, you're like, get them out of here. Because when I'm watching Godzilla -1, I'm invested. I'm on my seat. I'm listening to every word. I'm hanging on every syllable. I care about these people. I don't care when Godzilla is going to show up. I mean, I know he will, but I don't care. And when he does, it's like a bump to the story.
Right.
Here, I want them to shut up, except when Gia's on the screen. I love her. I think she actually, her whole arc, and that actress is Kaylee Hoddle, does a wonderful job with that. Her and Dan Stevens. For the next movie, it could just be those two, and I'm literally good. I don't need anyone else communicating to me at all.
I don't know if I'm going to argue that, because that's hard to argue, because they are so great. I like Rebecca Hall a lot because she brings a different air. She brings a grounding to the story that I really appreciate, though. And
she's a good actress. She's just kind of wasted here.
But she plays smart so well in this. I was more annoyed by the pilot when they first get the Hollow Earth. I was more annoyed with him than I was with any other character, because he was an absolute cartoon character with absolutely no dimension to him. Everybody else had at least something.
Sure. All right. So the effects are insane. I'm not kidding. It looks like a cartoon most of the time. But the monster designs, I would say, are amazing. There's a couple I'm not going to mention because I would not spoil that there are some fun surprises. And I'm so glad I stopped you when you were about to tell me why Godzilla was pink, because you were going to ruin the whole damn thing. Okay. And I didn't know any of that. And it's a cool thing. It is fun to watch them in battle. But do you think after -1, don't you think it looks a bit like ridiculous? Because, I mean, that's more diluted and focused and really used appropriately, I would say, for scale, where here it's just nonstop excess. Now explain to me as a Godzilla fan why both of those movies work the same for you, I guess. Because to me, they are worlds apart.
Okay, so Godzilla minus one, it works for me because it is telling a different kind of story. Godzilla isn't really the centerpiece. Godzilla is in that movie is just he's just a natural disaster that shows up and people are just trying to survive it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so he has more akin to the Bruce the shark than he has to anything else when it comes to the kind of creatures he is. That's great. That's what he could be. That's what he should be. And in this movie, he's kind of like that too, where he only shows up when he has to be on screen and he's not trying to tell the whole story. Why do I like both the Godzilla designs? Because both the Godzilla designs are beautiful in their own right.
Not the design, the different kinds of movie, because one is just ridiculous. There's no grounding at all. It's just hyperbolic. It's ridiculous, over the top. And the other one is like Jaws with Godzilla. Those are like, it's the same creature, but they aren't even in the same universe.
No, they're not. But it's been like that since the very beginning with Godzilla. And for a lot of us who are big G fans, we were introduced to Godzilla at such a young age when Godzilla was a guy in a rubber suit. And it was damn near the closest thing to us, it was like WWE wrestling, only it's monsters and better in a lot of ways. Don't at me. But so really, with it being such a low caliber, even for it being the 70s and 80s, there's only up from here, right? So that's why both the movies mean so much. Godzilla has never let me down, whether he's trying to tell me a heartfelt story, whether he's trying to teach me something, or whether he just wants me to go out and kick some ass. Godzilla has always got my back when it comes to all that. So that's why it's not, even if they're all different universes, because Godzilla is constantly in different universes. There's an era of Godzilla where he looks one way, and then they switch gear, and the story is more about him being a hero. Then he switches gears to being more of an anti-hero in another set of movies, and then he switches gears again to be an absolute villain in a couple of movies. So it's different stories all the way through for all the Godzilla series. And this just happens to be the way this works. So like minus one has more akin to the very first Godzilla movie. Those two can live in the same universe. That's great. This Godzilla, the legendary Godzilla, is legendary Godzilla. And they're telling a different kind of story here.
So Godzilla's a very complicated dude.
Absolutely. He's 70 years old. Of course he's going to be complicated.
Or dudette. I don't know if we ever really checked.
We'll say they.
So I'm a big fan of director Adam Wingard, and as I'm watching this movie, and I enjoyed it, I had fun with it. I didn't enjoy it as much as Godzilla vs. Kong. I thought that was way better. It was much more balanced in terms of human characters and action and fights, everything. Like, it didn't look so cartoony. But I gotta say, the editing here was atrocious in scenes. Like, there are scenes where I feel like whole portions of the scene have been removed. You know what I mean? And that became a little frustrating. It really kind of impacted my enjoyment of the film a little bit. Did you get any of that, or is that just something that bothered me, not you so much?
I didn't notice it the way you did. There was a couple of moments where I did. It was I can take it back to my reaction to the theatrical release of Batman versus Superman, where I'm like, why? You ask yourself why all of a sudden when you get to a couple of scenes. That did happen in this movie once or twice where I'm like, why, how are we here? But then I got right back into how much fun everything was, and I forgot about it.
Because Monster Mash.
Right.
Gotcha.
Right.
All right, so most importantly is Monster Mashup. Did you have fun? Did you have fun with this one?
How could you listen to me and think otherwise that I didn't have fun? I had a blast with this movie. I have a blast with it. Seems like ever since the first Godzilla movie of the Legendary series, it's gotten more fun as the movies progress, and I really enjoy that. The one thing I want to point out that I'm like scratching my head at, okay, is this, okay? So Suko, which is the little baby Kong, as people like to call him, right? The mini Kong. He is the size of Kong when we meet him in Kong Skull Island.
Okay.
Okay.
Oh, he's
Kong
a lot smaller then.
What's that?
Or he's a lot smaller than Kong now. So Kong had a growth spurt.
Yeah, he did. Yeah.
Okay.
Because in that movie, Kong was only like 120 or 130 feet tall.
Right.
So that's how tall Zuko is. So Zuko looks like a baby ape. Kong did not look like a baby ape when we met him.
No, he looked like he'd lived a life.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's my one and only like issue with the timeline here. It makes sense because if you saw baby Kong, more or less baby Kong back then, you would have been like, this movie is kind of weird and stupid. Right.
Mm-hmm.
But it makes sense. But at the same time, now that when you see it in retrospect, you're like, what happened? Do they like become their adult shape at that height and just keep growing?
I don't know, but I do know this. I give the movie props because they used a toddler ape as an ass beating weapon, and I've never been happier at the moment.
I love that so much. When we started this conversation, you said that it was very heavy on Kong and lesser on the Roar, which I do want to say, as a big time Godzilla fan, I had no problem with the amount of Godzilla we got in this.
Okay.
Because Godzilla isn't supposed to be, and usually isn't at the center of the story. We know that with -1. We know that with the original Godzilla
because he's
story.
overmatched. That's why. I mean, he's overmatched. He would wipe everybody out by showing up. Like, this would be the short movie.
Right. It would be the short. That's part of it. But also, like, Godzilla is supposed to be more of especially it seems like in this legendary series, they're playing up the anti-hero aspect of him more than just the hero. They're letting Kong be the protector of the human race and the hero kind of figure, whereas Godzilla's more like, I'll show up and I'll beat everyone's ass and then I'll go. And that's exactly enough Godzilla. We don't need more than that, because too much more than that or getting much more of a story with that might ruin it. But yeah, that's why I'm okay with the amount of Godzilla we got in this.
Okay. Fair enough. I was just very happy that we got to watch toddlers be used as weapons. I think that's great. So
that was amazing.
If $10 is full price of admission, what do you give Godzilla Kong, the New Empire?
New Empire gets $6.50 out of me.
Okay. I give it $5.50 because the human characters really, every time they're on screen, they weigh it down. They just make you not care about this movie. But okay, now we're going to upcoming attractions. We used to have this. We got rid of it a long time ago. I've had a couple listeners bring it up, and Troy and John have both brought it up multiple times. Troy, you still with us? Okay. He's there. You can't hear him, but he's there. All right, so what we're going to do is I'm going to run through some movies that are coming out, and then we can discuss anything you guys want to discuss when we get to the end. So, Monkey Man comes out on April 5th, about an anonymous young man unleashing a campaign of vengeance against the corrupt leaders who murdered his mother and continue to systematically victimize the poor and powerless. And it's written and directed by Dev Patel. And I got to tell you, I was at South by Southwest when this premiered, and everybody on the streets were raving about this film. So, I think that is one to look for. The First Omen also comes out on April 5th. A young American woman is sent to Rome to begin a life of service to the church, but encounters a darkness that causes her to question her faith and uncovers a terrifying conspiracy that hopes to bring about the birth of evil incarnate. And this is a fun fact. If you go look at the same posters for Monkey Man and The First Omen, they look exactly the same. Like, the posters are red and very ominous. They look exactly the same. It's very uncomfortable. Please, as I read, you too, look it up. So, Strictly Confidential, video on demand, April 5th. A haunted young woman finds herself drawn into a world of seduction, duplicity, and betrayal as she desperately tries to uncover the mystery surrounding her best friend's suicide. Starring Elizabeth Hurley, directed by her son, Damian Hurley, and he directs his mom in a sex scene that's been all the talk about on the internet, which is the only reason people are going to go to video on demand, Troy.
Right.
That's why it's on video on demand.
Scoop is coming to Netflix, and that's about how the BBC obtained the bombshell interview with Prince Andrew about his friendship with convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein.
Didn't hang himself.
Yep. Stars Gillian Anderson and Billy Piper. That's on Netflix. Sugar Season 1 is coming to Apple TV. Private investigator John Sugar, who's played by Colin Farrell, examines the mysterious disappearance of Olivia Siegel, the granddaughter of a legendary Hollywood producer. The Antisocial Network on Netflix. A group of lonely teenagers form an online community and bond over their isolation, but their collective beliefs are warping reality. These are all on April 5th. And then we got the trailer for Bad Boys Ride or Die, because they wasted Bad Boys for Life on the third movie. You wasted the good title on them. Lowry and Burnett are on the run after being framed as they try to clear the name of their deceased captain. That comes out on June 7th. Any of this you guys want to talk about so I can breathe? You bitches wanted this. You better have something to say. That's all I'm saying.
Well, for me, I was really excited about the Antisocial Network. And then I was like, oh, it's not a movie. It's a documentary. And then I got even more excited because they're actually going into the world of 4chan. And like basically how the internet has evolved into a global 4chan now and everything that 4chan brought to the table. Mm-hmm. So if you're interested in anything related to 4chan and how the internet has now morphed into basically a hate zone, Antisocial Network is definitely going to be up your alley. Sugar looks really good. I just hope they don't Apple TV this thing and like do something stupid for the finale.
Like have an alien show up because everything's sci-fi on Apple.
Well, I mean, an alien could show up and that would probably make it better. I just hope they don't like Defending Jacob, where it's like 9 episodes of really good stuff and then like shit the bed at the end.
I hope Colin Farrell's the alien in that.
Could be. It looks kind of alienish. Scoop actually looks really good. Nice to see Billie Piper still out there. Doctor Who fans rejoice.
She's a good actress.
And Strictly Confidential looks good as well. I actually enjoyed the Monkey Man trailer as well, to be honest. It's not a movie I think I would watch normally, but I was actually intrigued by the concept.
It's very John Wicky.
Yeah. I'm really excited for Monkey Man. I think what will get my vote as far as what I'm more interested in watching is going to be Scoop. That looks like something that I'll actually enjoy sit down watching over the weekend and taking the time for the most. I'm excited. Like it's a good lineup though for movies and TV shows this weekend. So as a little bit of a segue, I do want to say one of the reasons why I love this segment so much is that it reminds me what to get excited about each week we do the show. And because there's a lot of times where we do the show and I'm like, what's coming up this week? I don't know anymore. I don't like, cause I don't watch TV as much as I used to when it comes to commercials. I don't have like the constant stream of like coming out this weekend coming in my face. That's a terrible line.
Wow.
I'm just going to go now and shut up.
Yeah, no, it's okay. Go ahead, finish your thought while we try to get that out of our heads.
I don't think there's much more I can say anymore.
Speaking of John's poor choice of words, I'm really curious about Strictly Confidential because this kid is like directing his mother to have a sex scene, and I just find that fascinating. He's like, oh, it's very, very professional, and she's very proud of him and everything else. I'm like, yeah, I want to see this sex scene. Because if it's naughty as hell, if it's like Shannon Tweed level, I got questions about this kid that demand to be answered. If it's very tasteful and it's well done, all right, that's a different story. But if it's like, mom gets thrown up against the side of a building or something, like in the old 90s erotic fiction days, that's a little too Pornhub for me. Step family.
Yeah, I don't know what to say about that, honestly. That's kind of scary.
It's weird.
I think I said enough already anyways.
The Bad Boys Ride or Die trailer, I mean, we haven't talked about trailers in a while, so we're basically combining two past topics into one because that's just the way that I'm going to do it. It was difficult for me at first because I have not watched anything Will Smith related since the of a couple years ago. And I love
where we're at, sound effects.
Yeah, I don't want to have to say it again. But I am a big fan of Bad Boys. I love that series. And even though I think Martin Lawrence looks like he should probably be resting somewhere rather than being in this movie, it does look fun. So there's that.
I mean, it could be good, but it just didn't do anything for me. Like it's too far removed.
All right. Well, the thing I'm most excited about all these is other than Monkey Man is Sugar, because I'm a big Colin Farrell fan. I love a good mystery. You give me a TV series with mystery and Colin Farrell leading the charge, I'm in. I'm on board.
One thing we can talk about with this segment coming back, though, is the length of the trailers. 3 minutes, okay, for the Bad Boys trailer.
They
Like,
had
that's
an
the whole
opening,
movie.
though. It's really like 2.5. They had an opening where they're introducing it and stuff. That's not the same. It's 2.5 minutes.
It's a long trailer.
Why do you
Like,
complain
trailers
about time so much? Do you just
because
have none of it available?
Tease me to come to the theater. Don't give me the whole damn movie. Like, just the tip.
Like,
Okay.
I got nothing. Like Monkey Man did. Monkey Man very much did do that. They
Yes.
really don't tell you much about the story in the trailer.
But they show enough to make it go
Yeah.
like, okay, I get the kind of vibe, I get the kind of option, I get the kind of like, what do you call it? Feel of the culture.
Exactly.
There's enough there to make you interested to say, okay, this looks worth checking out.
Okay, we're going to go to our From the Outside In topic, but first I want to tell you about Finest Kind, because that is now available on digital today, and it stars Ben Foster. I love Ben Foster. Toby Wallace with Jenna Ortega. Of course, Jenna Ortega is popping everywhere these days. She's a monster star. And Tommy Lee Jones. Legendary Tommy Lee Jones. It's about two brothers who reunite under really desperate circumstances, and they're forced into business with a dangerous Boston crime syndicate, putting their family ties to the test. It's directed by Brian Helgeland, and Finest Kind, you can get it from Fandango at Home right now, rated R, from Paramount Pictures. And if you don't know what Fandango at Home is, that's like Vudu. It used to be Vudu, now it's known as Fandango at Home. I don't know how many people knew that. And also, if you want to win a digital copy of Finest Kind, send us an email, contests@thehollywoodoutsiders.com. We're going to give away a few of these, contests@thehollywoodoutsiders.com, with your name, and on the subject line, I'm the finest, just so I know it's you. And we'll enter them into a giveaway for 5 digital copies. Now let's go to our From the Outside In topic. Now we're on our From the Outside In topic, and we're talking about monster mashups. We're going to mash our own monsters up, but first I want to ask Troy, because he hasn't really had to speak very much lately, and I think John's talked enough about why he loves monsters. Troy, do you love monster mashups?
I mean, I like the Monster Mash. Does that count?
Oh,
No, it's not the same thing.
not the same thing.
It's the
guess
Graveyard
I-
Smash is what you're talking about, and that's not the same thing as monster mashups.
Is it like Freddy versus Jason? Because I like that.
Yeah. Yes. Like Freddy versus
Yes.
Jason, Godzilla
Exactly.
versus
Okay.
Kong. Yes.
Sure. Well, I didn't say like I don't like fake monsters, like real monsters, because Freddy's real. Aaron knows.
He's in my dreams. Yeah. So you're not a big fan. Do you like these? Because some people don't like these. They don't care about them matching up and getting together. And
I mean, it was cool when Alien and Predator ended up being in the same movie, and then somehow it tied the whole universes together. I thought that was a cool concept. So I think it just depends on if it makes sense, which of course, nothing we're going to talk about in the next 30 minutes or so is going to make sense, because we picked stuff from all kinds of random places
Sure
to put
did.
together for you this week.
sure did.
But I mean, if it serves a story and the story is good, then it makes total sense. That's fine. You know, Godzilla versus Kong is definitely one that would work because of the fact of who they are and the kaiju and the whole thing. So I think it's just a matter of story. If a story works, go for it. Let's see what happens.
I just like to see things going up against each other. I think there's something cool about a villain that I love to hate or love to love, whatever the case is. Just seeing them match up against a formidable opponent, and because it's never really a fair fight in most horror movies. Most horror movies or most monster movies, that sort of thing, the monster has the advantage always, and that gets it can get kind of generic and kind of old after a while. I love the idea of, well, now you gotta match up with somebody that's got a little bit more punch in them. Now, I don't think Godzilla versus Kong is necessarily fair, because Godzilla can just laser his ass and he's over. But Freddy versus Jason, I think that was a really cool idea, because you have Jason, the unstoppable killing machine, versus Freddy, the guy who haunts your dreams. I mean, and so it's like two worlds coming to collide. And I love the idea of putting those together. You know, you could Hellraiser versus Chucky. I don't give a shit. Like, just get horror villains mashing up together. I love that idea. Leprechaun versus Chucky. That should be a thing that exists, right? Like, that should live in this world already. Why aren't we doing it? And I'm not picking on little people. It's just a concept that I think is unappreciated, unexplored. And there are so many studios, especially like you look at Universal that has Blumhouse and a lot of horror icon. They have the monster, the dark universe that almost existed. They could be doing this stuff nonstop. This would get people jazzed to have like the Wolfman versus Dracula, like they did in the old 40s and 50s and stuff. Have that kind of thing. That's awesome to me. The Mummy versus Dracula. They both have magical powers of sort, like the modern Mummy versus, Dracula as a whole. That could be a fantastic concept. Let's do that. Let's jazz it up. I love this stuff.
I love this stuff too. I think the idea of just these two worlds coming together and having to sort each other out in different ways is just interesting. It's interesting storytelling, and we're so used to seeing one story or being a fan of one story versus another that it's nice to sit there and see people agree with us or not agree with us or be like, okay, well, I can see why that would be a thing. I totally get it and I love it.
I know you love it. You're just like rock'em sock'em monsters, basically. Yeah, I love this idea. So here's what we're gonna do. Our topic this week is monster mashup. So, we've already had a whole podcast and we're not done yet. There's more to come. We're gonna talk about the Matrix here in a minute too. So take monsters or villains from movies or TV and which ones would you like to see either team up or fight in glorious fashion? How would you do it? And most importantly, worlds don't matter. In the real world, studios matter. Licensing matters. All that nonsense. Blah, 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 blah. I mean, you can cross studios. You can cross genres. I don't care. You can pit the smoke monster versus the mist. I don't know how that would work, but I think it could. Smoke monster destroys things in a smoke. The mist is got monsters in the mist. I think that could work. That could be a fight. Anything, just get creative. And each of us have 3 distinct matchups we're going to touch on, and then we'll see where we go. So Troy, why don't you go first, since you're the least monster mashup guy? What do you got for us?
Well, you said monsters, and the first monster that popped into my head,
villain.
Of course,
monster or villain.
I know, but monster was first. So the first thing that came into my head was Shelob, the giant spider from Lord of the Rings.
Okay.
Because that thing freaked me out when I read it in the book. It freaked me out even more when I saw it on TV.
Sure.
Or the movies. And it was okay, she's pretty badass. And I love the way she hunts, and I love the way she moves, and I love the way that she stalks her prey, and everything about it was just really cool.
You sound very turned on right now. Okay. I'm in.
I was. That stinger, I tell you. But Blue the Raptor, I thought would be an interesting test.
Blue Raptor.
For Shelob. Yeah, Blue, the Raptor from Jurassic World.
Oh, okay. Interesting. Okay.
Because Blue definitely has some speed on his side. Granted, the vision not so great in the dark, so that makes it a little bit more of a fair fight. And
depends on if they're outside or not.
I know, but Shelob only works inside the caves, so it'd be in the cave.
Okay.
But Blue's got that kind of cool reflectiveness of him, so Shelob would get distracted because it looked like mithril, but it's not really mithril. But she wouldn't know the difference because it would just shimmer the way it does on Blue. And I think eventually Blue would get the upper hand because Blue would just chomp Shelob's legs off at the end of the day.
Oh, yeah.
But it could be a cool fight.
Blue has the claws, right? So,
yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. But Blue could keep her moving through the tunnels and running around ragged and eventually just tire her out. And so that's why Blue would win.
That'd be a fun fight. I'm always siding with the spider in those kinds of fights, but I could see Blue winning too. I'd watch that too. I would watch that. John, you don't sound excited. His Shelob versus Blue, that doesn't do anything for you?
No, it does. That one actually doesn't do much for me.
Way to shit on his ideas.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sorry. I don't mean to shit on his idea. I don't find it as an interesting matchup.
I like it, Troy.
I mean, you can like it. I'm not.
In fact, I want a giant Jurassic spider now in the next Jurassic World that Scarlett Johansson's going to do. I want that.
What are you going to write a Superman movie next too?
I might. I got the Kevin Smith reference. I got it. All right, John, what do you got for a mashup?
All right, so I did this in a little bit of a different way. So I'm gonna give you my movie pitch. All right, so my first movie pitch is in a heartwarming tale of holiday rivalry. You have Chewbacca and Harry from Harry and the Hendersons. They find themselves embroiled in a spirited competition that spread Christmas cheer. With lightsabers and tinsel in hand, the towering duo embark on a mission to outdo each other in decorating their homes, or their adopted homes, however you want to put it, with the most extravagant displays the galaxy has ever seen, from Wookiee Christmas carols echoing through the forest to Sasquatch-shaped snow sculptures adorning the Hendersons' front yard. The festive frenzy reaches epic proportions. As the competition intensifies, there's a crash landing of some sort in the backyard, and the two, and Harry and Chewbacca realize that the true magic of Christmas is to lays in not grand gestures, but the joy of friendship and warm gestures as they are running together to go see what it is that crash landed in the backyard. Is it a way for Chewbacca to get off of Earth? Is it Santa Claus? We don't know, but they come up to this crash spaceship and there's Alf dressed in a Santa Claus outfit.
Okay.
That's my movie.
Doesn't Chewbacca celebrate Life Day?
Yeah.
Not Christmas?
But as soon as it looks so much like Christmas. I just found a giant
hole in this whole thing. I liked it, but Life Day, man. Life Day.
It looks like Christmas to me, so he gets excited. He'll get excited about it.
And I'm also, is it cool that you call Chewbacca and Harry a monster? I mean, I guess they Sasquatch.
Yeah.
We're afraid of that.
Wookiees. Through the partnership, Chewbacca comes to know Santa Claus.
Right.
I'd watch
religious experience.
Yeah. I'd watch it.
Alf is there. That's where you lost me. I was like, what? Does Chewbacca bring cats as a gift?
Leave Alf out of this, and I think this is a good idea. Put it that way.
All right. I get it. All right, cool.
I don't think we need a wisecracking cat eater in the middle of this.
I mean,
ruining Life Day.
You're kind of just upset because he's taking the wind out of your sails and then eating cats, which you would enjoy to do just to get rid of them.
I would watch just an Elf movie, to be honest.
If Chewbacca and Harry were bringing cats to Alf as a sacrifice in order to save Christmas, I think that would be a much better.
Oh my God, that's my kind of warm, heartwarming holiday classic. Yeah, I don't like cats. Okay, so my first one, I just want to go for it. I want to see the Evil Dead go up against the Exorcist demon. Fuck it. I want to see a bunch of woods play and people getting possessed left and right. And I want to see possessed people going against possessed people. That's what we never see in these demon movies, right? Like when they possess a human, they're always all going against humans. Fuck that. I want possessed people going against other possessed people. I want them to push humans aside. They don't even care about the humans. I want them fighting it out for demonic dominance. That's what I want. I want a real battle royale of demons. I think that would be amazing.
I like this. This is a good idea. However, I'm remembering the tree scene in Evil Dead.
That's how he wins.
And then I'm remembering
raping the Exorcist possessed guy.
Well, I mean, is it rape when the Exorcist is like, fuck me, fuck me?
No, especially if it's a priest. Oh, I'm sorry. Let's watch that one. I'm in. All right, we went too far. Troy, back to you.
We went too far.
For my second one, I said, let's take people that just annoy the shit out of you when they talk, because they talk so much you don't exactly know what they're saying. Although what they're saying is actually really important and really valuable information because they seem really smart. And that was Gollum versus Vizzini from The Princess Bride.
Vizzini, is that the bald guy? Inconceivable. Is that
the inconceivable guy?
How does that work?
Literally, it would be Gollum and Vizzini just telling stories back and forth as they go on a quest. And the more they keep talking to each other and the more they keep having these discussions and arguments and whatever, eventually they're going to have to sit down for a meal. And when they sit down for a meal, he ends up finding out that Vizzini does poison Gollum's cup, but Gollum actually feeds him bad fish. So they both end up killing each other.
This is like grumpy old men in the Dark Ages.
Exactly.
I'd watch it. I am so open to watching bad movies all over the place. All right.
Yeah, this is a fun idea just because of the way I would want to see them argue
Like an old married, like an old married
like a
couple.
bickering old, yeah.
Yeah. Stupid hobbits is, and just random words that sound like they're important being
Inconceivable.
thrown out. Yeah, I want to
Pirates
see
would
this.
kill hobbits.
That's funny. All right, John, number 2.
All right, so again, it's another movie pitch idea. So here we go.
That's fine.
Caught in a whimsical tale of fate, E.T. and Cooper, he's the monster from Super 8, find themselves unwitting partners in a zany escape comedy. They're trapped in a top-secret government facility. They are a mismatched duo embarking on a hilarious journey filled with mishaps and mayhem as they dodge bumbling guards and navigate through a labyrinth of corridors. With E.T.'s extraterrestrial's ingenuity and Cooper's resourcefulness, they concocted ingenious plans involving makeshift gadgets and alien technology, turning their predicament into a rollicking adventure. Amidst the chaos, they discover unexpected camaraderie, foregoing a bond that transcends the galaxies. Together, they laugh, they cry, they ultimately triumph, proving that even in the strangest of circumstances, friendship knows bounds.
I love how you just keep giving yourself complicated words that you have a hard time saying.
I was going to say the mashup I want to see is our John versus Frolicking. I was like, dude, like you can say simpler things. It's okay. I'm so stuck on Frolicking. I forgot what the movie was
so
about.
funny at the same time.
I
feel
can't.
bad.
I can't
for
say
laughing.
anything. I can't say anything about that.
No, that sounds fun.
I'm
That sounds a
broken.
lot of fun.
You killed Aaron.
I'm broken. I'm sorry. I love your idea. 2.
Whatever
Thanks.
the hell it was.
Yeah, I do. All right. I want to see that. If we could cross worlds, I think it would be amazing to see a movie where we get 2 properties, two individuals, 2 characters. Both they want to control the world in their own way, right? One wants to wipe out half of humanity to control population. The other one just wants to dominate Nazi style. And I want to see them come to head. And whoever wins their way is the one that's going to rule the galaxy, so to speak. And that's Thanos versus the Emperor. And I think that would be one that you could even let fans decide. You know, you do
Clarify. Is this a franchise? Is this Thanos versus regular Emperor and then eventually clone Emperor, or
just regular old Emperor, al dente.
regular Emperor? Okay.
Yep.
Al dente.
Just regular old Emperor. I don't want anything special, and I don't want to acknowledge that stupid clone idea. Palpatine came back somehow. What? That just covers all the bases, huh? All right. No, this is like, because you've got 2 that are very powerful, and you can see that Thanos can already stand up to a wizard because Doctor Strange couldn't do anything to him. So you've got 2 formidable foes, and they have very different, unique views of how to set the world right. The Palpatine believes wholeheartedly that if he's ruling the galaxy will be a better place. Thanos believes by wiping half out, that will actually cure a problem that is existing, you know, in terms of supplies and whatnot. And I think you have them duke it out, and whoever wins, humanity kind of loses. So it's very much like Infinity War. It's a very dour ending no matter which way you go, but it's going to be fun getting there. No heroes come in to save the day either.
Well, it's because Luke's dead.
Sure.
Spoiler alert.
I'm working this out in my head. So in your story, does Thanos have all 5 gems?
I think it's potentially possible. I think it's not
I
defined
think it's
yet.
better if he has all 5 gems, because then when he goes,
I
to
think he
do
has
the
4.
snap-
I think he has 4 gems. He can't have all of them. He'll get the Emperor has the 5th gem. That's why they go up against each other. How about that?
No, okay.
He needs that 5th
Okay.
gem to enact his plan. The Emperor wants to enact his plan, and bam.
He
Okay.
weakens the Emperor, steals the 5th gem, goes to do the snap, and in the last minute, the Emperor shoots a lightning bolt, which electrocutes the gauntlet, and then Thanos dies.
Or vice versa, or it goes the other way.
This is a good battle.
Yeah, no, this is really good, especially if it's 4 gems versus the Emperor, because you have 4 gems. We know Thanos is stoppable with 4 gems. He becomes unstoppable when he has all 5. So it gives an air of like, at least there's a chance for the Emperor to win. And then the Emperor has different force abilities from like not being able to so the force suggestion wouldn't necessarily work because Thanos is too strong-minded anyways. But then you have like the rest of the force abilities and a lightsaber, which a lightsaber would technically be able to cut through anything except for Beskar, as the universe has deemed necessary. So yeah, I think this is a good matchup.
Yeah, the Emperor would have the time stone, and that's why he jumps ahead to episode 9 in order to escape from Thanos and shows up for Rey and everybody to fight in that movie.
The most important part of this one, it could actually exist.
Yeah.
Disney owns both.
It could.
You know, and I would watch. I'm not just saying that because we're making a podcast. I would literally watch that. I think that could be good.
Technically, E.T. already crossed over.
Sure. Yeah, he did. Yeah, technically he did. Yep, he was in Star Wars.
So there are other beings in the galaxy that could show up.
All right. Who is it? Troy, back to you for number 3.
Already? Oh, okay. This one I thought was really interesting. It's the battle of the best of the worst villains. And that is one Ben Linus from Lost versus Negan from The Walking Dead. 2 people that felt like they had to be in charge in order to protect the people that were under their charge, in order to solve whatever right or wrong that happened to them when they were growing up as kids or growing up as teenagers. They just had this need to like make everything right. And in the process, of course, fuck everything up because of what they do. So the 2 of them going up against each other is literally a battle of wits and battle of conversation on how best to lead the tribe that they have to go against in this new land. And eventually, as the conversation continues on for the 100th day, they finally get tired and pass out from exhaustion. And Negan wins because Ben falls on Lucille.
I like it.
I like it, but the problem is that I think that the second Ben thinks he's winning by having a conversation, Negan just takes him out with Lucille.
Yeah, but they're sophisticated in their leadership style, so he knows that he can't just use Lucille to just exercise.
Yeah, and Ben would manipulate the situation. He manipulates others to do his bidding more than he does anything himself. It's an interesting idea.
Like
It would
Ben
be
would have
interesting.
Ben would have a way to get Lucille away from Negan before they even sat down for the convo, but not far enough away.
Okay.
It's an interesting idea. It needs to be. It has to be written just the right way, but it's an interesting idea for sure. I think those 2 characters, I think, are good go.
All right, John. What's your next movie pitch?
All right. So my final movie pitch is, in an unexpected twist of fate, you have John Doe from Seven and Jigsaw from Saw, and they find themselves teaming up in an unconventional romantic comedy. Their nefarious skills are repurposed to win the heart of the infamous Annie Wilkes from Misery. With a blend of twisted charm and calculated manipulation, they concoct elaborate schemes to woo Annie, each leveraging their unique talents to outdo the other's acts of affection. From intricately designing puzzles to chilling displays of devotion. Their courtship is bizarre.
Are you laughing hysterically at what you already knew you were going to say?
Yes, I am. I'm enjoying it.
Okay.
As the unlikely duo vied for Annie's affection, they discovered beneath the icy exterior lay longing and a genuine connection, leading them to a wild, darkly comedic journey of self-discovery and unlikely romance. So you could take that however you want.
Well, it sounds like they'd be frolicking.
Uh-huh.
Troy, nothing?
That was bad. It only works in the moment.
I like it.
Yeah. I tried to have fun with it. I hope everyone has fun. I tried to have fun with my choices, and I didn't want to go for just like the wham bam thank you ma'am monster mashup story. I wanted to do something that everything had a theme.
I like it.
You wanted to put us through misery. I get it.
Way to put in the work.
That's how it's done.
Way to put in the work.
That's how it's done, Aaron.
Yeah. Nice. Well done. My last one is the mayor and the governor team up. Now, if you never watched Buffy the Vampire Slayer, the mayor was the mayor of Sunnydale, but also tended to be a big giant freaking demon. And the governor was part of The Walking Dead and basically ran a small town and was himself kind of a demon, just not a literal one. So what I want to see is these two team up because they're politically minded. One has the brains, one has the brawn. Well, they both have the brains. And what I wanted to see them use their very political motivations, and I want them to run for office. I want them to be a team up that actually runs for president and vice president on the ticket, and their whole plan is to take over America, and then eventually the world.
No, they're actually running for office to be the mayor or political ownership over Pleasantville.
No, this is my movie, and I want them to be running for president and vice president. And when they get there, they're going to change how the whole system of government works because they're both politically minded. They're both kind of freaking evil. One of them happens to be a demon that can make a lot of shit happen to orchestrate that course. That's what I want to see.
So, in your story, which one is the one who's actually running? Who's the brawn and who's the politically minded one?
They're both politically minded. The brawn is the mayor because he's the actual demon.
Okay, all right. I wanted to make sure that
But they're running against each other.
No,
Nope.
they're running with each other.
They're on the same ticket. They're working
On
together.
the same ticket.
Yeah.
Against who, though?
Who cares? Joe
He
President. Joe Biden.
Sleepy Joe.
Donald Biden. That's who they're running against.
Donald Biden.
Donald Biden. No, there's a mashup for you.
Yeah.
Old and older.
I think it would be fun to have monsters in the White House. That's what I think. Okay.
So I'm surprised that hasn't been like a What We Do in the Shadows season.
Political based.
Yeah.
Political based.
They should.
Bat.
What we Do in the Shadows West Wing edition.
All right. So now I'm going to throw you out some listener suggestions. You guys tell me who you think will win in these particular suggestions. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Stuart Bannerman, Jason Bourne versus James Bond versus Jack Bauer. I like that mashup, but who wins? It's not really anything to do with our topic, but I like it.
Yeah, I like
Bauer.
it. Jason Bourne.
Yeah, I think Bourne wins that one, actually.
No, Bauer used a lamp and took the cord of the lamp and stuck it on a dude's nips to shock him.
Did you ever watch the Bourne movies? He did far
he
worse
used
than
a
that.
pencil.
Yeah, pencil's a pencil.
Whereas
All right.
John Wick was a legend with the pencil. We actually saw the pencil with Jason Bourne.
Exactly. Just Ima. Okay, listen. You're gonna have to listen up. This is a minute. 50 convicts get thrown on an island, half for the blue side of the island and half for the red side of the island. They start in the very center and have to make it outward. It sounds very Fortnite-y. They start in the very center and have to make it outwards to their respective coasts to earn freedom. The convicts must work together as the two sides have been set up with a plethora of vicious traps. One side done by Jigsaw, the other side by the adult Kevin McAllister. So who wins that one?
Wait, who are we voting for winning on this one? Jigsaw or Kevin McAllister?
I think I'm saying Jigsaw's going to win that one.
Yeah.
The more important question is Kevin blue or red?
Why does it matter?
I needed to know the context.
Blue.
Okay.
You know, there's a Ray Liotta movie that's almost this called Escape, where he gets thrown on an island.
That's true. That is true. Let's see what else we got. Let's see if we have any other good. Okay, Ivan Drago from Rocky IV versus Knox from Roadhouse. Conor McGregor versus
Ivan clearly wins.
who? Ivan?
Knox.
Ivan Drago.
No, Knox
Yeah.
would win that.
Knox
No,
will win that.
Ivan must break you.
Yeah, and if he dies, he dies. I get it, but Knox was just nuts, and I think Nuts wins that fight every time.
Yeah. Like boxers keep their feet on the ground the entire time. MMA guys, not so much.
That's funny. Michael Bonovich does want to throw in the comic book that does exist, the Ash versus Jason versus Freddy. I think Jason wins that one. I don't think Ash stands a chance, honestly.
Ash has got it. I have faith.
Groovy.
Freddy's got it.
All right, well, that's it for the topic. I think that was fun, but before we head out of here, remember you can always share your thoughts on this episode or anything else in our Facebook group. We're on Exit by Popcorn. Our website is thehollywoodoutsiders.com. And you can email us feedback@thehollywoodoutsider.com. Let us know if you even care about the upcoming attractions. I need to know if we keep it in or not. I need to hear from you. But before we end, we got to at least talk about The Matrix because it turned 25 years old, right? The Matrix, Keanu Reeves, Carrie-Anne Moss, Lawrence Fishburne, revolutionized action cinema, red pill versus blue pill. We still get jokes about that. It created and established slow motion action as a concept and unfortunately was used to this day. And the story could have went somewhere magical. I think by most accounts it didn't. So what do you think? Looking at The Matrix now that it's turned 25 years old, where does it stand for you? Like as a whole? And do the sequels tarnish its legacy for you? Or enhance it, depending on your perspective, I guess.
I mean, the first movie's gold. Like, you could watch the first movie over and over and over again, and it's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
So I think the rest of the sequels don't really impact the first movie because the first movie could just be standalone and be done. They give it the opening to have sequels in the future, which was cool. I'm not diametrically opposed to the third movie or the fourth movie. I think that they are interesting concepts and topics in their own right. Granted, it wasn't the same movie as like the first or second movie was, but I don't think they're horrible movies. They're not as good as the first or second, right? Like Ghostbusters 2 wasn't a great movie, but it's watchable. So like, I think the story of
Matrix 2 had some cool action scenes. Like they did have some really inventive action scenes.
Yeah. And you got to see Zion for the first time, which was awesome. And then, you know, the whole, the French and then the freeway and everything. And it's like, there's just some good stuff. There's a lot of good stuff in all the movies. It's just a matter of really focusing on what the main concept of the story was. And I think the story in the first movie was like, we are these business corporate drones that go to work every day and follow the same routine and the same routes. And we don't wake up. And so we need to wake up and actually grab our lives back. So there was a story, a motive, an emotional trigger in that first movie, where the rest of it was just, let's go ahead and finish this cool ass story with no emotional tie to those movies. I think that's what was missing from 2, 3, 4.
When you put it in that perspective, Troy, like, to be honest, that makes the first movies seem eerily predictive of our current world.
It is our current world. I think that's why the Wachowskis made it in the first place, because they were like, hey, 45, 50 hours a week, you get up, you do it again. There's no time to actually play. There's no time to actually think. There's no time to actually make music.
We're always plugged in.
Have you.
We're always
plugged in. We're on our phones all the time, right? Like, there are people here. So are the machines, is AI, is the social networks and all of that, is that what's running our lives right now? We just talked about the Antisocial Network that's coming to Netflix in the upcoming attractions, about how the internet thrives on people being angry and hateful towards each other. And if we just unplugged, we would actually go, oh, it's kind of cool out here. Let's go have a rave party underground.
I really don't know how to follow up with what everything that Troy said, because he kind of covers the bases, and really anything they say after that kind of falls on its face. But as far as for me, the first movie has an emotional attachment just because it was a time in which I could go to the theater with a group of friends, and I still remember being in the theater with 20 people that were all there with me to go see it, and it was just a good time. And that's something that doesn't happen as much or even ever anymore when it comes to getting people together to go see movies.
That's true.
The sequels had the same effect, to the degree of which we got so excited for the sequels, we ended up going to see those movies as a big group as well. So as far as like the movie going experience, I like remembering all of the movies, because just sitting there and remembering getting together, then going out afterwards, talking about the movie, just having dinner, the whole social aspect of being with your friends was great. And that just, like, I can't think of many movies that were that sort of same sort of thing has happened, especially in the last 10 years. So it's rough.
What I love about that movie is it was so cerebral. It was a very intelligent action film. Everybody still talks about the action scenes, right? And I get it. Very innovative, very unique, very clever. wonderful use of special effects that hadn't been done really to that level at that time and was copied for years afterward, which kind of diluted their effects to some degree. But man, did I love the story itself. And I feel like too often we don't remember the intelligence behind that story. You know, Troy kind of alluded to it, but it is a very heavy, heady story. It's not just Neo is going to kick a lot of ass and take out Agent Smith. That's not what it is. It's really, really intricate and layered and has a lot going on. The whole concept of red pill versus blue pill, you know, that can really tie into our own psychosis. Like, do you want to just subscribe to this workload situation and just give yourself to it? Or do you want to come experience something different, you know, very unique? And I think that's very much what it's talking to. Like, do you want to just keep living this life you're living, or do you want to live a different existence? Do you want to make something new? Do you want to make something different for yourself? Like, it's really speaking to the human experience. And it doesn't get talked about enough because people are too busy living in the whole bullet time situation, which was fantastic, but it wasn't really as deep as that movie was. That movie is so much deeper than I think most people ever really give it credit for. Your average fans, I think they just like the action scenes, and rightfully so. The sequels don't do as much for me. I don't think they tarnish the legacy of the first movie, but I also don't want to go back to them because I think the story gets too convoluted. They're trying too hard to keep up that cerebral approach. They're overthinking a lot of it. The fourth one in particular, I thought was really bad. It just forgot what the Matrix was for a time in that movie. And it just doesn't work as a whole. And as a series, it doesn't really connect. I don't care how much money they made. But that first film is a perfect film. It is a perfect action film. There's very few of them. That one is a perfect action film. And John, I agree with you. I remember watching that with friends, and we're all astounded and walking out of the cinema. And the thing I remember most is talking about the movie in thematic detail. Like, it wasn't just that was cool, that was badass. Man, this Keanu Reeves is going somewhere. It wasn't any of that nonsense. It was really about the concepts, the idea. Our minds were blown. Like, our minds were freaking blown. And that doesn't happen hardly ever anymore.
Takes a lot to surprise today.
I think it did then too. I just think that they really, really unlocked like a secret of what we wanted to see in the world. You know, what we needed to see in the world. We needed to have an action movie. Basically, the reason that they use the action is to bring people together that normally wouldn't be together. And then you have such a deep, meaningful story. And I think that really creates a conversation that didn't exist before. If you choose to take the right pill, to jump down the rabbit hole. Do you think this movie's going to last another 25 years? Like, it's going to be one of these, like Gone with the Wind's Casablanca type films?
First one for sure.
Think so?
Yeah.
Yeah, the first one still has the ability of doing that. I remember sitting down and watching it just recently because somebody that I was watching that wanted to watch it, and it was only like within the last 3-4 months, they were like, I'm really in the mood to watch The Matrix. Let's watch The Matrix. And we had both already seen it. And yeah, it's something that still comes up in conversation. It still comes up. People still identify with it, especially with the themes of the first one, whether it has to do with how people are handling their mental health, whether it has to do with how they're balancing their work life, the work-life balance. You know, there's a lot of things in that movie that really do strike home. And it's a good reminder of where we want to be versus where we're heading.
Troy, I know you pay attention to that, like plugging in and getting away from technology and stuff like that. Is this for you? Because I know, well, you guys are both big on The Matrix, but is this like a warning sign for you? A big cautionary tale, if you would?
I think if it would have came out now, it would be for sure. When it came out, when it did, I don't think we were really in that social media, iPhone, Android, smart device, pane of glass everywhere we go mindset at that time. So at the time, I think it was truly about corporate America taking over our lives and making us work more for less. I think is really what they were trying to push for. But if that were to get like remake this movie right or a reboot of some kind, even though it was just kind of continued, rebooted-ish. It definitely would be about AI and screens and the robot takeover that's about to happen.
That's about to way to be ominous at the end. It's about to happen.
Civil War comes out next Thursday, everybody.
Yeah. Oh my God. All right. Well, anything further on The Matrix as we end this particular episode?
It's a good movie. If you haven't seen it, go see it.
Yeah, go see it, definitely.
Go see it with your friends, for sure, with a group of people.
Well, go see it. Rent it. Buy it.
And shout out to Justin McCumber, because I remember fighting with him so many times over the sequels and how
so many times
terrible I think they are versus how much he could make the case that they were the best things to ever happen. And I think, man, would he have been excited for that Matrix sequel.
Justin was the lost Wachowski brother.
He was. Very much so.
Sibling.
So drinking one to you, buddy, on the Matrix anniversary, just for you. So that's it for this episode. We'll be back next week. And coming up soon, we've got a John Hughes movie battle royale. So look forward to that. That's coming in the next couple weeks. I don't know which week we're going to do it, but man, I can't wait. As well as we'll obviously have a Civil War review whenever that comes out. So remember, the next time you head to a theater or stream comfortably on your couch, watching all those new releases coming out, maybe even Elizabeth Hurley being directed erotically by her son, buy popcorn. You know he's buying it.
You think those two are frolicking?
Touche.